Hey geeks, I'm Trey Guillotine, and you're watching Geekly Trends, where I give a few thoughts about some of the geeky trends that have happened in the past week. Joss Whedon might be directing a Batgirl movie for the DCEU, but first... Does anyone else remember Reboot? This was a show in the 90s. I watched it on Toonami. I don't know if it was on anything else, but I watched it every day after school on Toonami. It was about, like, computer programs or computer sprites living in a computer, and there were guardians from the internet. This was back when the internet was, like, a new thing. But this was a completely CGI show, and it was about these computer sprites living in this computer/city, and they were trying to fight viruses, like actual personified viruses, and whenever a user or a person would play a computer game on the computer, a block would come down in the city, and then the guardians of that city, and like Guardian Bob, who was from the internet, who was one of the internet guardians who like came into this computer city, they have to play in the game, and they have to keep the user from winning the game, because if the user wins, then everyone in that game is destroyed, and that city block is just wiped out. Well, it looks like that Reboot is going to be getting a reboot. This has been kind of in the works for a while. We've been hearing things about it here and there, but nothing really concrete. But we finally got a little bit more information about the story. And it looks like 4 teens who go to Alan Turing High School are going to be chosen by a computer program by a computer guardian program to come into the computer to protect from stuff. It wasn't a lot of information, but that was the basic gist of it. And that doesn't have me very excited. Not so much the story itself, but the idea that part of this show looks like it's going to be live action. That's going to be 4 teens from the real world going into the computer, and you know, that part will be CGI, and I'm sure it'll look great. But I don't want the real world as part of the story. At least more so than it was in the original. Like that's not the point. I don't want the main characters just to be, you know, kids like we have here. I like the idea of the main characters being these computer sprites fighting for their own world, for their own existence. If they did reboot, I'd rather not a reboot, but a continuation after the fact where, like, Enzo and Bob come back from the internet to their home system, and they're grown up. It's a lot cooler, it's a lot more badass, there's cyber pirates. Like, the kind of the towards the end of the series, it got really, really cool. But that's really all the information we have on it right now. Marvel is working on another new TV show, and this is going to be a 30-minute comedy. It's going to be on Freeform along with the Cloak and Dagger series that they're working on, and it's going to be called New Warriors. This is going to be about young gifted people who aren't quite Avengers levels, and they're not quite heroes, but they're trying to make the world a better place, fighting bad guys as well as bad dates. That's the description, that bad guys are just as frightening as bad dates. It's going to be a comedy. It's going to be Marvel's first comedy. They've been trying to do a comedy since Damage Control, but that didn't work out. So now it looks like they're going to be focusing on this New Warriors. As exciting as it is to have a new TV show, and also just a new tone of a show, with Agent Carter and Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. being kind of Whedon-esque, and then the Netflix shows being very drama-heavy, it'll be nice to have a new tone for a show, a new comedy show. But the big news with this is that one of the heroes of the New Warriors has been confirmed to be Squirrel Girl. Personally, I'm very excited for this because it'll give me a chance to really get to know the character of Squirrel Girl in her first live-action debut. From what I've seen of her, she's a very fun character. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they translate her character into live action. Also, in Marvel TV news, Netflix released a very short teaser of Defenders, of them just standing in an elevator, and it's like camera footage and them looking tired, like they just had a fight, and Jessica Jones being kind of antsy, and she sees the camera and she jumps up and knocks it down. It was very appropriate for the Defenders, very appropriate especially for Jessica Jones' character. But with it, they also released the release date of going to be August 18th. So we've got a few more months until the release of Defenders. I'm very excited about that. At a Q&A, CD Projekt Red, the creators of the Witcher trilogy, talked about the possibility of continuing the series. Now, they always planned for The Witcher featuring Geralt to be a trilogy, so you can't do a 4th part of a trilogy. But they also really love the world that they created, and the characters, and the ideas that they created in the game, and they don't necessarily want to leave that. So they're very open to the idea of continuing the Witcher series, not so much as another story involving Geralt, but maybe a new Witcher or an entirely new kind of character, but in that same world. All I have to say is please do this. Please, pretty please do this. I love The Witcher. I loved Witcher Wild Hunt. But the story of all of those games, and even the books, when I finally picked up the books, read a lot of the stories that the games are based off of, are so fantastic, and the world is so vivid and so fleshed out that I would hate to lose that world. They do mention that they've been doing Swords and Castles for over a decade, so they kind of want to do something a little more modern, say with ammo or something cyberpunk, but they're not opposed to the idea of continuing the series with a new character and in a new direction. Nothing has been confirmed, nothing has been stated, but some information was leaked that it looks like Joss Whedon is going to be directing a Batgirl movie for the DCEU. I believe based on the New 52 return of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, from her time paralyzed from the waist down from her attack from the Joker, spending time as Oracle, looks like she's back on her feet, rehabilitated, and ready to be Batgirl again. And it looks like that's the stories they're going to be pulling from for this movie. From the get-go, Joss Whedon doing a Batgirl movie is just a great idea. He's always been great at strong stories, strong settings, and strong characters, especially with strong female characters and strong female leads. So this is kind of right up his alley. Now, while some will maybe see it as a betrayal, as he was behind the Avengers and now he's going over the DC, don't look at it that way. Look at it that Joss Whedon did great things for Marvel and the Marvel MCU. And now, hopefully, while, in my opinion, the DCEU has been floundering, maybe he can do the same for them. Hopefully, Joss Whedon directing a Batgirl movie is the kick in the ass that the DCEU needs. Right now, we're waiting to see if Wonder Woman pans out, if Justice League pans out, and personally, I'm not holding my breath. But if Joss Whedon's behind the helm of a Batgirl movie in the Batman universe, I have a little more faith in that than anything else that DC has done. Plus, Joss said he was done with Marvel. Not that he left on the worst terms, but he did the stories he wanted to do. He did what he went there to do, and now he's done, and he's moving on to other things. And he's left Marvel in the great hands of the Russo brothers. So thankfully, the Joss Whedon curse from Firefly has been broken. That he's finally getting the critical acclaim that he deserves, and getting behind these really big movies and these big universes. So as a longtime fan of Buffy and Firefly, I think Joss Whedon is the perfect director for a new Batgirl movie. Were there any trends this week that you'd like to talk about? Let me know in the comments or on any of my social media, and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share the video around so others can join in the conversation. Check out my Patreon to support more of my future content, and visit templeofgeek.com, your one-stop for all things geek. Also subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.